He's one of the most active runners in Charleston, and politically, he's on the short list of people to run for mayor in 2015. But come Tuesday, Mike Seekings is asking the residents of District 8 to give him one more chance. I had a chance to talk with him for the special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Let me start off with some developing news.
Sure.
Obviously, you are actually running for re-election for city council. But you know, I was reading the city paper last week, and there is some speculation about 2015. There are people like William Dudley Gregory, Linda Kemper, even yourself mentioning that article. So let me ask you this. Are you going to run for mayor of Charleston?
Well, although a fair question, let me say maybe a little premature.
Sure.
I'm 24 hours away from a city council race, and I'm running hard for city council, but enjoying my time on city council. And let me say this about the next job, which is the mayor's job. My belief is, as a citizen of Charleston, we need to make sure we get the best person to follow in Mayor Riley's footsteps.
Sure.
If I'm that person, fine. If someone else steps forward and is a better candidate, will take over the city and do the job, I'll support that person too. So we'll see what happens.
And you talk about re-election, and obviously Tuesday is coming up tomorrow. You've been a councilman for 4 years now.
Yes, sir.
And I want to talk to you about something that the Post Reporter said about you. Quote,
All right.
Mike has a strong grasp of issues that the Charleston City Council should and can independently take and tackle. He has been an independent voice. Give him another term to actually make headway. As we sit here right now, do you agree with that particular sentiment?
Well, I think so. I mean, there's a lot going on in the city. Since I was elected 4 years ago in 2009, think about what the world looked like. We were in the throes of a really bad economic time.
Right.
There was uncertainty out there, and Charleston has turned 180 degrees during those 4 years. And we have a lot going on. And infrastructure, transportation issues, we've really just started to push forward. So another term to finish off what we started, I think, is fair. And I think what the Post-Courier said is true. I mean, I try to be a voice of reason for the people that I represent, for the people of the city of Charleston.
And the city paper said that you actually have a calm voice in the council.
I think the city paper said calm until it comes to issues I really care about, which is transportation and taxes, and I do care about both of those things. But you know, what we do in the city is make sure people are safe,
Of course.
safe and safe. I mean, safety is number one, and so to make sure we do that, there's no reason for histrionics or yelling or screaming. We try to remain calm and do the best we can, and that's really my style. If you come to city council, you'll probably see that.
Well, yes. And let's continue to talk about endorsements, because I've seen so many people endorse you.
Well,
I mean, tell
I'm
me.
humbled by that.
Well, yes. So what does those endorsements say about you?
Well, you'd have to ask the people who are doing the endorsements, but I think what it tells you is that you're doing the job you said you would do. I mean, one of the things I said when I got in is I would listen. I would do the best I could for the city,
Sure.
and I would follow a course that in the end would leave Charleston a better place than when I began. And I think that's what those endorsements say. I mean, I'm humbled that the Chamber of Commerce has endorsed me. We've got a lot going on with great development of business, with the Think businesses, People Matter, Boomtown Spark. We've brought young people in that are working, and just Charleston is just booming. So I'm humbled by that. Obviously, you know, we want to keep forward and moving with that.
And you also said this too. Quote, during the past 4 years, we made significant improvements, but our agenda continues to grow. Put on your memory hat and tell me, if you are re-elected tomorrow, what will the agenda be going forward?
Well, the agenda going forward will be to make sure that the city that you see today, with all the cranes around and the construction, is a place that people can live, work, play, and go to school safely, and a place that 72 years from now, after they spent their whole lives here, will say, I really did the right thing by being in Charleston. I call it the 72-72 rule. Be as good a place for those who are here for 72 years as for 72 hours.
Right.
So that is the mission. That's our job in the city, is to make sure that all those cranes that are going up and building things, we make it for those people a place to live, and that's really the mission on the peninsula, is to increase the number of people living here.
And let's walk down memory lane, because as I mentioned earlier, you were on council for 4 years. I'm wondering, was council the way you envisioned it to be 4 years ago?
That's a really great question, and the answer is yes and no. I mean, it's been a job, and I knew it would be hard work. I just had no idea how many dimensions there were to the process and to running a city efficiently and properly. So it's been a huge learning curve, and one reason I think a second term for me would be appropriate is to take everything that I've learned and really be able to put that forward into producing some results. I mean, it is a very steep learning curve, and I'll tell you, it's just a different process than I imagined it would be.
And for someone who's an attorney, tell me, going back to 4 years when you actually started, Why was Charleston City Council so attractive to you?
I have been here for a long time.
Yes.
I'm right here on Broad Street. City Hall's right next door.
Right.
I've been practicing law for a long time, and Charleston has been great to me. It's been a great place for me and my family. And so I wanted to give back in a way that I thought would engage my skills the best.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to make sure it was on a local plane. So City Council was a natural place for me to end up.
And as we talk about your career, obviously you are a partner here at the firm.
I am.
Tell me, how's that going?
It's going great. My partners are very tolerant. Being on City Council is really a full-time job. Being a lawyer is a full-time job. And when I decided to run for City Council, the two people I asked were my wife.
Of course.
It took some convincing. And then my law partners, and they have been completely supportive. They never ask me where I am. They're both constituents. They're very engaged and interested. But it's nice to have that sort of support group around you, because if not, I'm not sure how I do it.
And you really caught the law bug at an early age. From what I read, you were working for Donald Russell after law school.
I did. I was really the most amazing job I ever had. Was working for Donald Russell, former governor of South Carolina, senator from South Carolina. I mean, as you know, he was a huge promoter of civil rights. He was just the most amazing human being I ever met. I spent 2 years clerking for him when he was a federal court of appeals judge.
And speaking of law, you went to D.C. and you actually worked for
Latham and Watkins. I did.
I know D.C. is an overwhelming city for most people. Was that the case for you?
Well, it was an interesting transition for me. I started off, as you know, working for Judge Russell in Spartanburg, South Carolina, when Spartanburg was really a sleepy town, and literally went from there to Washington, D.C. So that was a big cultural change for me, and working in the big law firms in the big city there was interesting. I'm not sure it suited my personality, but it was a great place to get training as a young lawyer, and politically too. So I learned a lot up there. I'm certainly glad I ended up here in Charleston, though, I can tell you that.
And another place that is very overwhelming is college.
Absolutely.
For you, which is Amherst College.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, who was Mike Seekins as a college student?
Well, Amherst College is a small little school up in the middle of Massachusetts, New England College, and really one of the most amazing places I've ever been. Of the 1,500 students who were there, each one was unique and had an amazing story. So I was really thrown into one of the most amazing think tanks for young people ever. And that really, I'm not sure who I was then, but I know it molded me to who I am now. And just sort of young and curious and sort of fully involved. I was involved in academics, I played sports, involved in all sorts of things. So Amherst College was just an amazing place. I would never trade that experience for anything.
And let's talk about the University of Pittsburgh.
A little bit different experience there. I mean, at that point I was into professional training and law training. Pittsburgh being a big city. So that was more of a sort of a job for me than it was a sort of growing experience. So 3 years at law school, and then right after that is when I came to Spartanburg with Judge Russell, and I've been sort of working my way to Charleston from there. And it's hard to believe that was almost 30 years ago now.
Well, finish these sentences for me. The outdoors are?
Oh, Charleston, fantastic. Where we all need to be.
Yes, writing is.
My release from a lot of stress, and a place where I can get my competitive juices going.
Being an adjunct professor is?
Very rewarding, very difficult.
Politics is?
Amazing. Different than I ever thought it would be, and in the end, a place where we really need to encourage good young people to get involved.
Yes, indeed. Mike Seekins is?
Happy to be here talking to you,
Thank you.
and looking forward to staying engaged in Charleston, and happy person.
You know, I want to switch gears and talk family.
Right.
As you mentioned your wife, Michelle.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, when did you realize that she was the one for you?
Literally the minute that I met her. We met through her nephew, of all things, who he and I flew airplanes together, and he had talked a lot about her, his aunt from Florida. We never quite made it down to see the aunt from Florida. And she came here to Charleston on the eve of Thanksgiving now 10 years ago. We met that night, and I don't think we've been separated for more than 24 hours since then, so immediately.
And I was scrolling to your Facebook photos, and I saw a picture of your mom.
My mom lives just behind us, down Broad Street, across the river in Burnsdown. So I'm happy that she's here as part of the family in Charleston. Love her.
And so tomorrow is Tuesday. I'm wondering, what's your final message to your supporters?
Just say this, I think we've done a good job. I think Charleston is a place that needs some cohesiveness. We're going forward, there's a lot going on. And when we talk about infrastructure, it's easy to talk about building walls and all that and roads, which we need to do. But political infrastructure too, continuing on to make sure that we grow in a proper way And I think that's what I bring to the table is some knowledge. I've worked hard the last 4 years to understand how Charleston works.
Oh, yes.
Take those 4 years of knowledge, continue to put them into action, and I think deliver for what the voters want and the constituents want.
Well, Councilman Mike Seekings, it was so great.
Well,
talking
thank
to
you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.